are now listening to Something to Talk About, hosted by Big John and Billy Ray, with special guests Kensley Keys, coming to you live from Dis and Dems in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. By the way, these guys know what they're talking about compared to local radio programming. Now it's time to give them something to talk about.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome
Flicka's
back.
Tax Service in Taylorsville offers free 1040 EZs and free estimates. With over 50 years combined tax experience, this team is up to date on current tax changes and specializes in preparing all federal and state returns, including corporations. They can prepare W-2s and 1099s, as well as assist in obtaining EINs for new businesses. Stop by Flicka's Tax Service on Highway 28 in Taylorsville for fast, friendly service at a great price. Or call 601-785-6900.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you with us today. Billy Ray, how's your Rebels doing?
The Rebels are hanging in there, 70-65 over Florida right now. As I was watching the game where you were talking about these bands over here.
Okay, well, good deal. Billy Ray, you don't seem too enthused right now. It seems like you're all up into the game right now.
Well, I'm just not into music like y'all are. I'm strictly sports.
Strictly sports, and that's cool.
I'll let you handle the other stuff.
Well, okay. Well, that works too. And thank y'all for joining back with us. And you heard a few words from Billy Ray. Talking about sports, and we got to give a big shout out to our sponsors. They make it happen, Ken. And so remember, Central Sunbelt Federal Credit Union. Remember them. Also remember the Shabby Sheet Cake there in Ellisville, Laurel, right beside Magnolia Ag, Mississippi Ag, and you can give them a call at 601-433-7999, and they have some homemade fresh king cakes getting you ready for Mardi Gras season, and so it's that time of the year again. And remember, of course, Flicka's Tax Service there in Taylorsville, and remember, Exquisite Tax Service in Bay Springs and Waynesboro. So thank you guys for tuning in today. We're glad to have you. Glad you could be here. And I tell you what, it's a great day for getting out and about. Even though it's cold, I don't think we're going to get above 40 today. I don't know. It was cold earlier coming here. So, but thank you guys, nonetheless, for listening in. It's great to have you. Billy Ray.
Yes.
So let's talk a little college basketball a little bit. How does that sound to you, bud?
That sounds all right with me.
Well, talking about college basketball, it's in full swing right now, and the state of Mississippi is looking quite, it's competitive. As far as things go, but for state, Southern, and Ole Miss, they all can make the NIT. I don't know. I don't think Southern will.
Don't sugarcoat it. Basketball in the state of Mississippi is not that good. Sure, State's got a pretty decent record, but they did get beat last week by Ole Miss. That game was up in Oxford. USM hasn't played anybody. They got a 9-9.
Sure.
They have a 9-9 record. They play in schools like Rust and Spring Hill down in Mobile, the NAIA schools. So they're not playing anybody. They go on the road, they get beat. Ole Miss ain't doing. They're 9-7. Sure, they're beating Florida right now, 70-67 with about 3 minutes to go in the game. But this game's in Oxford. If it was in Florida, it'd be a totally different story.
Right. Well, I know I shouldn't be sugarcoating it like some people do.
Don't be like some radio stations.
Yeah.
And be scared to say your team isn't any good.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Radio shows, and they're going to say USM is the greatest. They're going to pick USM in everything they do. They're just scared to say, hey, our basketball team ain't that good.
Okay. Let's face it, basketball in Mississippi just isn't good.
Not really.
Other than a few teams in Jackson, Jackson has some good basketball teams, but they're not all AAU All-Stars. Everybody playing now wants to be in the NBA.
It's a football, baseball state.
Right. I agree with that.
All levels, from the college to the little kids. football and baseball. Of course, now soccer's coming on with little kids. But.
And so, talking about it, Mississippi State, they had a chance to be like, 14, 15, or 2 or something, whatever. They lose to Ole Miss in a close game, 64-58, and, they play a lot to their talent. If they're playing a good team, then they get blowed out at Florida, 71-54, and they host Auburn on the network, I believe, right after this game gets done. So, I don't know if they're going to win. Auburn's ranked right now, and they're a tough basketball team down there with Bruce Pearl.
Well, the game's at the hump, so look for State to be competitive. I think Auburn comes out and wins this game, but I think State will keep it close.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And, of course, Auburn has come out, since they are with Under Armour, in the summer, that big scandal with basketball coaches, that came out. FBI, paying things off. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I don't think it's going to be good.
Well, I ain't heard anything much after all the news came out. It's been kind of quiet throughout the season, so we shall see.
And I think they probably went after. They had I think it was more or less a witch hunt to get Rick Pitino out of there. I don't know, but it seems that way.
You might be right on that because he is gone.
Think about this. What has Rick Pitino done that hasn't been anything worse than John Calipari?
What has he done?
Yeah.
Well, he's had sexual relations in a restaurant with a mistress.
You don't think John Calipari has done that? Hadn't done that either?
We haven't heard.
Well, he has.
He may not have. We haven't heard.
Just look at him and you can tell he looks like a sleaze.
Yeah, he's like a sleaze, but we haven't heard anything in the sexual relations department for him.
That is true. So we won't never know. He was on there crying, and Kentucky was on there crying the other day when they played Texas A&M. Yeah, he's got those deep Italian roots, the mother country, with all that stuff in New York and all that. You've ever seen the Goodfellas, you know what I'm talking about. But he was on the SEC Network on the Feinbaum show the other day, complaining that Kentucky gets all these hard calls and they don't get fair treatment. Really, dude's going to get on there and start complaining because he has 15 5-star All-Americans on there who's going to be playing in the NBA next year. Come on, give me a break.
John, he was on the Feinbaum show complaining about referees. He's just basically working the referees without being in the game.
Yeah.
He's trying to get his calls later on in the year.
But what do you think about that?
It's just good coaching. He's working the referees right now.
On TV?
Yeah, sure.
On TV?
Because the referees are listening.
It's about like Nick Saban. Sure, Alabama went and won the national championship, but he's on there. Nobody's asked about, us having backup players come in and fill the roles of starting players. Well, let's take a look at it, guy. You have 37 5-star Under Armour All-Americans. They should be able to come in and fill those roles. Wouldn't you think, Billy Ray?
I don't understand where you're going with this.
He was crying because nobody had mentioned it at the press conference. He was complaining about it. Nobody had mentioned it before.
Mentioned what?
The fact that he's had to play with backup players, but he failed to mention the fact that all his backup players are total to about 37 Under Armour All-Americans. About 5 of them, 37, all 5 stars. That's where I'm getting with that.
I guess I missed that press conference.
Yeah, it was on the other day on the Feinbaum show that you supposedly watch all the time.
No, I don't say I watch Feinbaum show all the time.
Okay, well, you missed that one. But he was on there talking, complaining, asking why the press hasn't mentioned that. Well, they shouldn't have to have recognition that they're an Under Armour All-American when they're a 5-star player. What do you think about that? You don't have any thoughts?
Not really.
Why would he be on there complaining? That's what I don't get.
I don't know what you're talking about. I did not listen to the Feinbaum show. I did not see the episode. I don't know anything about it to give you
Okay, well, we'll see what Kinsley thinks about that. But anyway, what really irritates me, though, as far as that, talking about, teams like Kentucky, you have all these 5-star players on there, and then their head coaches wants to complain that they're getting, they're not getting treated fairly. I mean, they should be able to beat everybody by 25 points every night if that's the case, since they want to be in the NBA so quick.
Well, like I said, he's just working the officials by not being in the game. He's talking about not getting calls, so when the game actually happens, maybe he'll get a call or two that don't go his way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe me and you disagree on that, but I just think he's a crybaby.
He may be.
He's a whiner.
He may be.
That's what it all boils down to. Well, let's get Kinsley's thoughts here, since you're a man of few words today, and why don't you pass the mic over to Kinsley, and let's get his take on what he thinks about college basketball, since Billy Ray has a few opinions this morning and our afternoon and watching the Ole Miss game. We'll get back to Billy Ray.
He's in a daze right now.
Yeah, he's watching those Rebels hopefully get beat by Florida. That's what we're hoping.
Unbiased, John, unbiased.
I am unbiased.
Okay. What's your definition of unbiased?
Well, I mean, against anything Ole Miss. I mean,
okay. Well,
I'm for everybody else. I mean,
so what's the topic that you're asking?
I mean, I like Ole Miss to an extent, but I mean, no offense to anybody that likes Ole Miss, but anybody that knows me knows that. So, I mean, just like Billy Ray, and he gave his thoughts on local radio program sugarcoating it. I ain't going to sugarcoat it,
What are we talking about? Not sugarcoating.
Well, basketball. The state of basketball in the state of Mississippi.
Okay.
It's pretty bad.
I would have to agree. It's basketball is not like it used to be several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, football has always been the most dominant sport in Mississippi, but basketball was up there as well. And some of the teams that I've watched, they aren't as powerful as they used to be. And if you look at some of the teams, I mean, I'm not sure whether it comes down to either recruiting, or whether it comes down to talent or coaching. I mean, the coaches implement the game plan, but the players execute the game plan. So it's a disconnect somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So either the coaching isn't effective to motivate the players, or either the players just aren't motivated by either the coaching staff or either their teammates to play. There has to be a strategic game plan from the coaches, and it has to be a motivation from the players.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, and I mean, let's call a spade if we shall. For example, all these AAU teams. I mean, they sit there and they say, well, you can play with us. You just have to give us this amount of money, and I guarantee you we're going to make you be the next LeBron James. Well, everybody is not going to be the next LeBron James.
Hopefully they wouldn't want to be.
They
want to be the next Jordan.
Yeah, and so, but not everybody is going to make it to the NBA.
Right, and that's one thing that most student athletes have to understand. I mean, of course, everybody, anytime you're doing something, especially playing a sport, of course you're playing to get to the next level. You have some high school athletes that don't make it to the collegiate level as easily as some of the other players do. They may not earn a scholarship. They may have to earn their way as a walk-on. And even the players that do earn a scholarship, college ball may be their last step.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I always encourage players, stay and get your degree. I mean, I understand. I mean, you have this talent and you want to take it to the next level, but get your degree first, because if something happens, I mean, you always want to have a degree to fall back on, but everybody's not